essentially is that the way we do Lego is just to get people to talk and have a voice in whatever they need to do. So the next stage is actually for you to create your own. So we have two of these, right? This is the one which has already been done as an example that we filled in.
So this is what you were following along with today.
So this is your template. So you can think about how are you going to use this approach. Who are you going to run it with? And what are the questions that you need to ask? So you can compare what has been done before, the one that you've just gone through. So you should know the process now in terms of asking people to create something, ask them question, reflect on it, start all over again, the next stage, the next stage, and the next stage. But before we go through this, Angela is gonna...
In the middle of a scene.
Yeah. So Angela is gonna talk about the relevance with Bond in terms of the national... Do you want to say, so that we can capture you as well, camera?
But how do we connect these to the project? So here we're becoming gaming champions. So it's like a training of trainers. Means it's not just one training. It is how do we take this back home and use it, and then get the feedback loops. Because the idea is that in the Bond legacy, in the project, we can bring something new, a new tool that hasn't been used for the farmers. Sylvester and Sam were saying that it has been used in big corporate, in many different organizations, in universities, but it's never been used for the farmers. So this is something new, and we're exploring together. It's not something ready-made, a package. It is something here that we will develop together, and we will see how relevant it is, how useful it is. We were talking before how would farmers and different kind of farmers be interested or not by this. So the idea is that when you're back home, you can practice with your own different groups and people with who you work, and then we get the feedback, and all together we sort of refine this further, no? And I don't know if all of you know, but in the project now we're going to have 10 national workshops, and then we have 4 regional workshops, and then we have the youth forum and the movie and some regulatory work, and then we have a laboratory in Moldova. So you are the ones who, when you can, when it's possible, we will be talking about this, would come to some of these national workshops and animate the part of the workshop that deals with negotiation. And that will be very important because this is real life. It's no longer just training, but the idea is that when there are specific needs, there were some examples raised before, but when there is some priority and people want to come up with an agreement, like you also raised some issues, how to put the relevant stakeholders around the table, and Bond will only be a facilitator to provide the funds and the opportunity for people to sit around the table. But then if you agree and if it fits with your schedules and all that, the idea is that you are a resource for the project, and you would come, one of you would come to one national workshop, another to another, and just help on that moment. We will see about language and all this, but help to make this negotiation the most fruitful possible, no? So it is quite an important role. It is something important. So there is a lot there. There is feedback loops, there is a new tool, and there is your presence in some of the negotiation tables where you can facilitate the process. So that was all. And of course, for you to tell us and to share together how you would want to do this. Because of course, after we separate and everyone goes home, so perhaps we can agree on, okay, so in that date, we can have a group Skype, and we can say, okay, I've been doing this or that. What did you see? Did you have the same problems? How did you solve them? So we can have a light timeline. We know that everybody is quite busy, but a little bit of some ideas of, you know, when we can talk about it and reconvene about that. So that were the thoughts.
Yeah. And using this sort of approach, so will get people to remember the experience, because when you invite them for a meeting, they might not remember at all, and they might say, oh, it's just another meeting where we just sit around and then arguing. If you do something like this, it will make them remember, oh, I went to that strange session, it's like on Lego thing, but we learned about also different challenges. like when we first went to the training as well, we were quite skeptical. And then after we've done it, I said, oh my God, we want to do more of this. So we've been doing it since for 4 years now. Because we find it quite interesting that people can open their mind up and be more, how do you call it, more ready to listen to one another after you've gone through so many different processes. This is just the first step. You can always say that from here you identify one key question that you want to answer. You will start the process again with that question. And you start it again until you find something that you really want to achieve. So we equip you with this, right? So this is the simplified structure that you can use to guide you. And the slides, we will provide the slides for you as well that you can change. All of this, we will give it to you to use as well. And you can translate it into your own language if you need to. But this structure will allow you to create your own. For example, the one with no detail. So you can set the name of your workshop. You can identify what is the actual goal. The goal is perhaps to address the gender issue in the farming sector based on this town or whatever. So normally it's like the first section is the introduction so that they will understand, oh, why are we using Lego? So give the same introduction. Yeah. It's like give the same introduction that I gave before, like, you know, only 20% of the people in the meeting is going to make the decision because those who are allowed will always be the one who make the decision. The rest will just listen. So we want people to work together. So you create this, you know, the view of why we are using it. And then the icebreaker, we started with the tower. This is to help people to understand, okay, the skills of using Lego, because some people don't actually know how to use Lego, as well as to explain the process. The process is ask a question or give them a task, they build, and then they share. You ask question, you reflect, and then you start all over again. Build, share, build and share, build and share. So it's all about metaphors. I know some of you say question, oh, I couldn't find anything that would represent a person. It doesn't have to, because this is a representation. Now when I look at this, I know that this represents the farmer as in the individual. This will represent the cooperatives or the different unions. So it helps me to remember. I'm not sure what these eyes are, but so yeah.
Big brother.
Big brother, big brother. So yeah, so that is the second step. And then you will start with your levels, right? And this is where your work will start in terms of what are the questions that I want to ask. Yeah. And I always advise people to start with something positive, to set the scene, to make them feel in being in a good place. Oh, I love what I'm doing. I love you know, the farming sector, or I love the supermarket, or I know different people that you are working with. Or they can talk about what is the best practice that you have seen in your area. Or you can ask about what was the best product that you have seen from the farms. So people start thinking about something positive.
This is so important, Sylvester, because very often in meetings we start with the problems.
Yeah.
What are the problems?
Yeah.
And I think this is
You
really,
need to start with the good.
and the importance of the question, no, to be simple. Sometimes we make them complicated.
Yes.
Just simple.
It has to be simple.
Yeah.
Simple. And then level 2, then you would start asking a question about either issues, any topics that you're that you are interested in, the focus of the meeting, opportunities. It doesn't have to be negative, but most of the time there might be some issues that you need to address. So you will ask a question. For example, the first question could be, you know, what is the best product that you have seen from the farming sector? So everyone is describing, and then the next question is, what are the key issues in marketing products from the farmers into the international market? What are the key issues? Maybe, but it all depends on your goal, of course. For you, perhaps you were thinking about the vineyards of sector, so you would try to think about questions that would give you the answer about how to solve that problem in, yeah. So the same thing with the rest of you guys. So that's the second level. So once you have had that, then what you've done in level 3 is to get people to identify. You don't have to just identify one, but to make it simple today, we just identify one challenge or one issue or one items. You can decide to say 2 items per person or probably 3 items per person. Right? So once you've done that, level 4 is you create a model. No, level
3.
level 3. Yeah, level 3 is to create the group model. Yeah, just to mix them together, like what you have done here, to create a story. So that the reason why we keep on asking you guys to tell a story, because the more you tell it, the more you remember. The more you agree as a group, saying that, oh, we agree this. Because if one of you doesn't actually tell a story, you don't actually know what he's thinking. Whether does he understand, or does she understand, or does she agree with the whole story. So when you ask people to do it over and over again, then you would agree as a group, yes, we do agree that these are the
Like you were
issues.
insisting,
So,
no?
yeah.
Yes.
Before we had that, actually, we saw it, no? That you
Yeah.
were
Yes.
insisting. No,
Insisting.
but go ahead. Yeah. You were
Yeah.
like, no, but we got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also because there's quite a lot going on. Like, and if you have more people as well, you have lots of different elements of the model come together. So, you know, you can forget what some of those mean because they are abstract. So it's really good to try and get everyone to go around and identify each part of the model so when the next stage comes, people know that was on the model, that was an issue there, or that was that. So it is really important to try and get everyone to tell that story about the model so that they remember that and it sticks in their mind.
Yeah.
And what do you think? What is the maximum limit? People, the maximum limit, how much, like
10
Wow.
maximum.
maximum?
Yeah. So
10, yeah.
That's
d-
important, no?
It is because of that you would have time, because you have to remember that your stakeholders might not have a lot of time to spare. So we always try to do it like this is just the right number. 8 is just perfect. 10, that's why we have a lot of extra time today because there are only 8 of us, because we planned this for 10. But you can reduce the amount of time.
And there is a sort of a caveat, I guess, that with more trainers, so if you had, like there's 2 of us, you can increase that because there's 2 people to kind of do that. But generally, 10 is
Yeah.
a good number
Yeah.
to go with.
And what about the composition of the group? I mean, if we have to involve different stakeholders around one topic, for example, farming, it is very important, I think, also the composition. I mean, I cannot put, I mean, it must be a balance
Yes.
of the different views,
Yes,
no?
yes,
So you
balance.
have to choose.
Absolutely. That's why it all depends on the goal of the workshop. If the goal is only about the product that the farmers are thinking about of creating new products, then possibly just the different types of farmers, maybe. But if you need something that to do with policy, of course you need someone who is from the NGO or people from the policy maker to be there, because it's a shame that we haven't got someone where you are part of the EU membership thing.
Sorry?
Are you? Where you are sort of you have the connection. You have the connection with the commission.
No, we work.
Commission, yeah. So you got the connection, so this is good. So give them this.
Give the money.
But also the question is, so did you have some, I would say, that someone didn't want to play with Lego, that had this kind of, this is not a serious business, what are we doing here?
Yes.
Yes.
Because I can
Yes.
see that
Yes.
our
Yes.
traditional producers
Yes. Yes.
and traditional
Yeah. Yes.
people in
Yeah.
government
Yeah.
would say,
Yeah.
come on,
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
we
yeah.
came
Yes.
all here
For
to play
sure,
with
huh?
Lego.
Yes. We've
What are you talking
we've been in this session before. It's like when people ask us to do it, they got on something that they need to solve. They say, oh, we want our team to come together to discuss this issue. And we do get people wearing, I mentioned it before to one of you, wearing a tie,
Yeah.
so suits, or why are we doing this? However, once they get through the whole process,
They will start.
Suddenly they will see other people is actually benefiting from it. It's all from observation. The tie was like starting to lose out, and then they started to be involved in the decision because they realized that other people are actually getting something from it. And I think you were asking the question about, how can you get farmers who are, older farmers to be involved. They say, why are we wasting my time with this? It's good to involve intergenerational sort of thing.
Okay.
And there are some stuff that we've done before, but not with using Lego. The older ones would prefer to watch, so they will be in the fringe. They just watch like that. But we were doing something else in terms of using, trying to understand how do we design a game for older people and whatnot. And suddenly they join in because they watched, they see, because one thing about them is they don't want to look stupid, right? But when they saw other people are enjoying themselves, I want a bit of that. So they would, can I try? Can I try? So the same thing as well. But I do, where we still get scared when we run sessions with people who are not used to this, they will just look at us, why are we doing this? But after a while, I think you just need to take you need to take the risk, because 90% of the time you will get people fully engaged in it.
I mean,
What?
we've-
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that, we've done these training sessions quite a lot with lots of different, what's the word I'm looking for?
People, stakeholders.
Yes, all of
Yeah.
that. And I have yet to come across anyone who has actively said, I'm not
No.
doing this. Everyone has got involved, and generally the people who are the most skeptical to start with are the ones that turn out to be like, oh my God, this was great at the end of it. So, there's never been a moment that I can think of where we've ever had that issue as, I'm not,
Playing with Lego.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
And that is the best thing, because those who really looking forward to it, they might be disappointed. because I want to just play with it, sort of thing. Say, but I want to play more. So, no, we have to do the serious part as well. Sort of thing.
so you were going to.
Yeah, but I think the first question is, you have to really think it over. What is your first and second question?
Yeah,
No,
the
that's
key.
one of the key.
the key.
To get
question,
people,
yes.
no? Right, to
Yes.
get the people,
Yeah.
have their attention also. Right?
Absolutely. The first question is key as well. The first question is the key in terms of getting people to feel positive about the whole thing and try to understand everyone. The second question is key in terms of that will set the tone of what you want to discuss, what challenges that you want to target as well. So it is key. The most difficult one to do is, as you have seen today, is the shared model.
To make a model.
That will really need people to negotiate. So you can see how people negotiate, but it's fun because you are negotiating using this. You are not arguing. You say, I think it should be here. No, it should be there. Why? Sort of thing. So you would discuss about the model rather than arguing. So that really helps. And the fact that having this, you went out for lunch for about 1 hour, 1 hour and a half. You come back, you still remember what the story was, and you still know what to include on here, and different ways of doing things. And I know that you like to use animals and so you can see different styles, but it is interesting, yeah.
But my question was after a while, before, just to answer to Joseph's question before, you said after a while they get involved. But what do you do in the moment when somebody sits and he says, no, I'm not going to come here and use my time? So between that and the after a while, how do you get that person to, Means what's the reaction when somebody says, no, I'm not doing this?
So far we haven't got that, because it was the suggestion from the organization, so they have to be there. They have to be
That's a
there.
good
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the
Yeah.
key is that you can never force anyone to
do
actively
anything, yeah.
take part, because that's not the point of this. But I think, like Sylvester was saying, is that if you just allow people then to sit and watch for a bit, then that might, if that comes up as an issue, like I said, we've never had that yet, But if it does, I mean, I think the best thing is to allow them just to watch, and then you might find that actually after time,
Maybe it is problematic with the government, but this game it is very good to make a strategy. You know, if
yeah.
you like to make a strategy, how something
Yeah.
to reach,
Yeah.
how to reach the
Yeah.
goal, and
Yeah.
it is good. Maybe it is good when you sit together on
Yeah.
the office or with the management board.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And to start to practice
Yeah,
on that
absolutely.
level,
Absolutely.
because if you go to the government and say let's we play with Lego, like you also said,
Yeah.
they will
You
say,
need to practice
are you
it.
crazy?
Yeah. You definitely
Yes,
definitely
yes,
need to
but
practice
you
it.
should
Yeah.
maybe we should think to find some strategy how you know to attract them, because it is interesting. You open your mind, you feel like a person, like a human
Yeah.
being, and you start
Yeah.
to share.
Depends on in what context that you create a workshop. You say this workshop is to bring everyone together. So you explain the theme. So we are going to use innovative way
Yes.
to get people to talk to each other. Come and then let's see what will come up from that. Possibly it would help rather than being a bit too vague, or as people would be too surprised when it comes to what is this.
Because we understand this like a
Yeah.
kids game.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, only kids
Yeah.
play with
Because
yes, with Lego.
yeah, because you were saying before this morning saying that I don't play with it because my kids play with it, my
Yes,
son
yes.
play with it. So
And my son will be very jealous.
yeah. and the fact that
I send the pictures to
and the
me.
fact that you were the first person who said that you will use it to address gender issues.
Yes, why not? In
Yeah.
gender issue, it will
Yeah.
be very interesting, especially when we
Yeah,
start with some strategy.
Yeah.
Now
yeah,
I will play some games
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
women, and after that with
yeah.
the
Can
lobby
show-
and
yeah.
advocacy activities.
Can show some cases. So I always show that those big companies are using it,
Yes.
and that they are all successful companies. They are all quite sort of like rigid.
that
Companies as
definitely
well.
helps to sort of
This is
set it
very
off on the
good for-
tone
yes,
that
really
it's-
for the strategy.
Yeah.
a serious thing.
And I'm sure that if we can dig deep, there are some governments who are actually using it as well. So I think to make decisions. Those are the things that we can come up with as well. We can provide you with the case study that you can use. But it's,
Actually, why they are somehow forced to try the new ways of communication or discussions, and why they are attracted by such a technique. So what's the real reason? Can they reach the results faster, more efficiently, or they just need something new to
no.
involve the?
I think that one was because they are trying to find ways for people to make decisions as a group. As I said before, that people don't actually make decisions as a group, only 20%. No.
Traditional, yeah.
So those are the research which has been done around why some companies are not doing well because of the decision-making structure that they have. So when this came about a long time ago, so they tried it, and that's why it is like a formal approach now, which of course we simplify for this. It became a formal approach because of the demand from the different companies for this to be run, and for them to provide the evidence of how it has worked before as well.
Probably, yeah, that they
Yeah.
made the comparison.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
was like through the
Yeah.
traditional methods of
Yeah.
collecting the ideas, or like that. Maybe,
Yeah. And the fact that it's an easy things. I remember like one of our guys here, he's doing this as well. So when he goes to a meeting, he will bring Lego with him and he would play with it, and then that is a summary of the meeting. So he used that as a summary. So this is the action
Make
point.
picture
Yeah,
and
yeah,
report.
yeah.
That is the report.
Yeah, so
Forget
it-
about
it
the
does
minutes,
that.
you know.
Yeah. So the client finds that is
Conclusions put the
interesting.
general
Yeah, because
Love it.
because there is a lot of research which has been done, and so when you feel free and informal, you make better decisions and you work better rather than feeling a bit rigid. And I don't want to say this, or as my boss will think that I'm weird, or as I'll lose my job, sort of thing. But when you use this, it's all playful. However, it's serious as well. What we discussed today is quite serious.
And I would hope, because I feel like this, that, even though I've just met you guys today, actually I feel quite connected. I know quite a bit about each of you and what you've done, and that's part of the playful methodologies, is that they break down those barriers. So whereas if we just sat in a meeting for 3 hours, we probably wouldn't know very much about each other, and we would probably hate each other at the end of it after arguing for X amount of time. But now, I feel like, I know a little bit about you, and it's easier to talk to each of you. I don't, and that's really part of this as well, is that it breaks down, like I said, it does break down those barriers.
But it's also about learning about ourselves, not just
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the others also,
Yeah,
because then
absolutely.
you can recognize, okay, it was my idea,
Yeah.
where they came
Yeah,
from,
yeah.
why.
Yeah.
The unconscious
Yeah.
and subconscious.
Yeah. Especially those of you who are working with young farmers, they are the ones who are going to be the champions for it, because they were, in a way, not be too surprised of this method, because they might have seen it before, they must have heard of it before. So they are the ones
They're
that
more open-minded.
open-minded. If you want an easy target first to practice with, sort of thing. But I would challenge you to target those that you think would not engage with it. You will be surprised to see how they engage with it. Because it is strange, using Lego, but strange in its way. It makes you remember. I'm sure you will remember this workshop for the next few years. At least.
Yeah, it's a different tool.
It's just strange. Some people use visual stuff and draw. Some people use what's that thing? Play-Doh. So they create objects using Play-Doh, but Play-Doh is not really hygienic. And this is not really hygienic either. But yeah.
Maybe with clay.
Yeah, clay. To build stuff, sort of thing, to represent.
I think also what I like about this is, like, when you have a meeting, you can talk about the bigger issue. It's like the meeting is set up linear, sort of, like you talk about one thing, then the next, and here you can actually make the problem three-dimensional, no?
Yeah.
So you can actually set the whole complexity of this factor there, these people are there, and so you can actually make a really complex matter.
Absolutely.
Make a holistic approach.
Yeah. You build on it. It's like when we did the workshop thing for 4 days, the stuff that we did in the first day, we continue building on it the second day, third day, and fourth day. And you can see it can be, as big as this.
Absolutely.
It is amazing, because from here you can start with, okay, now we know what we need to do, what will be the timeline, who is going to do it, what are the factors, so you can build more and more and more and more if you want to. But since some of your stakeholders want to have a lot of time, so the best thing to do after this is to say, okay, now that we know the issues, how we want to solve them, okay, what will be the instruction for the action plan and the timeline. So you can start doing it as a lead for the whole thing, and you can start writing. What we did with Angela before and the board, we wrote it down, okay, the key things that need to be addressed. So those are the outcome of the meeting, just to make it.
No, that was very useful.
Even when they came, they were quite skeptical. They were so skeptical.
Some, yes, actually. You're right, now that I remember, some were not at all
And then he said,
enthusiastic.
that guy said, remember that, I forgot his name, I'm not sure whether it's from
Rudolph,
Rudolph, was it Rudolph or the one, I forgot the name, but he said, I'm changed. He said, it's like before he said, I didn't think this is gonna work, but this is so powerful. That's what he said. And Thomas, he wanted to come and join. He wanted to come and join. I said, you can only come and join if you come at 9 o'clock in the morning.
He sent me many emails, please.
Well, he could have come just now, but you'll be late anyway, the same as you. But no, you came at 11, yeah. No, you came early.
10, no,
Yeah.
this morning.
Someone was supposed to come at
But the
11
plane
o'clock.
has been postponed till the evening. 2 persons are coming tomorrow morning
right.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they missed it.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning we'll be doing something else.
Yes.
But yeah, so these are the things that you can use. You don't have to do it now, but if you want to do it now, we can help you with it in terms of the questions that you need to ask. But it's quite straightforward. You have gone through the process. You know what all these sections are.
But we can still ask questions tomorrow.
Yes.
as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And not just tomorrow. You can, because we can always have you have our emails and stuff,
Yeah.
and Skype, and we are happy to review your forms. We will give you the soft copy of everything, and we will review your forms. So possibly you should phrase a question in a different way, and then you can translate it in your language if you use your own language or if you use English, because this is how you can learn from each other. So you can share with each other, share in one email, so people can see what you've done and then see. Because it's quite good. And some people, when they do the level 4, when they do level 4, you can have level 4 part A, part B, part C, part D. So you might ask them to create one, possibly the factors that influence. Another one is the solution. The other one is something else. So you can have different things around here that you can include.
What do you think, like, what's the youngest age whom this might be addressed? I mean, what is the youngest age, like, to whom this, like,
Youngest age?
method, can be addressed? Like, what?
We've done it with primary
what
school.
understanding,
We've done it with primary school. But those that is younger than probably 10 years old, they might just want to play with it, create stuff, which is fine. It's like, remember when you did one in Hungary?
Yes. Yeah.
The kids came and play with the Lego.
Whilst the adults were talking about different things, the kids were playing with bits of Lego. I think it just depends on how you frame the questions and just the age appropriate. What are they going to concentrate for? Obviously, you probably wouldn't want to do a 4-hour session with like littlies, otherwise they will definitely, lose concentration. But there's certainly maybe an hour and a half or an hour of getting them to think about, some general things that you want to unpick. I don't see why you couldn't have.
I can ask the question that what are the elements of a good boy or a good girl? So
I guess it just depends on concentration level, doesn't it? Of how long they can concentrate. But
it's sure, it's like I've not run it with a primary school myself, but I've run it with secondary school. Even more difficult at the primary school, they are all cool, sort of thing. But they do play with it. They find it interesting, but their ideas are just out there. When they create stuff, it's like big stuff that they're creating. So but try it and let us know the age, because we've not tried anything below the age of 11 years old. We've not tried.
No.
I was wondering as well, like, are there adaptations where, because this is for a really, when you're with a small group, strategic, and for example, we're with the federation, we're trying to organize a bigger day with a bigger group of people. And I'm sort of thinking about, is there a way to introduce elements? Maybe not the whole thing, but for example, the setting the scene or identifying factors, so that you use a part of it as an icebreaker or to identify the key problems, and then have a different type of discussion.
You can even put it, someone has used it as installation piece. So what I did was something at table like this. So they put model to represent something, to represent the question, but they write the question as well. And then they will get people to create something, put it there, and write what do they mean. So they put it around it. It's like a constellation thing. So you can do that as well as your data collection. And that would work because people will go and play with it. And before we use Play-Doh to create something that would represent our characters, but we use tweet, so people would take a picture and tweet it. So this is me. So I think so. I did something, but I can't remember what I did. I think I put a big smile.
And there are ways you can kind of adapt it depending on how many people you have. There was that. I'm just trying to remember. There was an example. The guy that trained us gave an example that he's done it at a conference sort of setting where they had lots of people in sort of around tables like this, and then each table would go. There would be one person on that table, sort of doing that facilitator bit almost, where they would go around and ask the questions, and they would then share back a couple with the main group all together. So there are ways you can adapt it. It just depends what you want to get out. Yeah, absolutely. Because if you want something which is quite driven, I think, and something very outcome heavy, something where you have 10 people is best. But if you want to kind of just get a general feel.
Interesting is that when some say that, because we did one in Trinidad, there were 120 people from the fuel industry, from the hospitality, as well as from the universities in a conference. The conference was on playful methodology for creative innovation type thing. So they asked me to give a talk and run. Two of us actually. We were both trained in London, so she was the one who asked me to go there to support her. So we ran like Lego session. What we just did for 120, but they had a lot of budget, so they got a cameraman going around with us. So we go from one table to another table to show how it works. So they all run their own session, so they know how it works. So they just talk amongst each other, and then they would one person to represent each table as well. So they say that worked well, but it was quite scary because we didn't actually know whether it's going to work. But the cameraman was good, so everyone could see it on the screen and everything. People could see the model when they talk about it. So people share, even though it was not as effective as doing it this way. However, after that, so many demands for this friend of mine to do Lego sessions with Shell, with different places, and because they saw the value. But what they did was they just want to introduce the method rather than try to achieve anything as serious as this. So you could do it.
Yeah, with planning and resource, but
resource,
absolutely, totally, it is completely doable. So, any other questions?
Any other question?
Do you have tomorrow?
That's why I thought that you don't have to go through this, because it's quite straightforward, and you need to really think about what you want to do, and then just draft them, where you can show it to us tomorrow when you come back, and then say that this is what I thought of last night and whatnot. What do you think? We will share all the soft copies, everything in a folder for you guys to download, so that you can run yourself. You can change the PowerPoint if you want to make it more localized.
That was through the day. I already had the plan in my head.
Have you?
Yeah, parallel with as you have, teaching us. So
it's good.
In the same time, I was thinking about the same process.
Write it down. Or use Lego to represent them.
So it was already the parallel process in my head.
That's good. That's good.
So I don't have to think.
Yeah. But you will have our information. You can ask us questions beyond this workshop these next few days. And if you want to come and see us, and then we can sit down and then go through it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and how you can run it as well. And we have Lego for each one of you.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. To start with. And Angela forgot to inform that you might need to put that in your luggage.
I did send you an email saying but
you can carry it. Just carry it
like a book under your arm and just
carry on.
No, it's very light.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me
It's
just
not
pass it on.
in the plane.
It's got light.
No, I think these ones are just.
It's got light anyway. It's very light.
Yeah, it's very light.
So this box, you can buy your own Lego and put it in it as well.
So these, of course, if you come to the national workshops, you have to come with a box.
And one for Angela.
When you will come and train in the national workshop.
Right. It's very light. It's very light.